Yes, that's right. You read the title of this video and you're probably thinking, what? Why? And just, you're probably just in some kind of surprise or shock. Um, I am as well. I gotta admit, this is not something that I expected at all, if it ends up being true, right? Because at this time, we haven't gotten word from Hasbro. But I will say this, the Illuminati has been very good about breaking news, and not just breaking news, but very accurate news. I consider them a credible source when it comes to news on Power Rangers. Um, so there could be a degree of truth to this. Now, this is not the first time that we've had a situation like this where Power Rangers potentially would have moved away from the live action format. But let me go ahead and get into this article here because I know this is what's on everybody's mind, right? Like, what does this all mean? Let's go ahead and just read the article. I'll give my thoughts on it, and then of course we'll go ahead and wrap up the video as we always do. And like I always do, I'll go ahead and leave a link for this article in the description below so you guys can check it out for yourselves, and you can give me your thoughts on it. So, as you can see from the title, it says here, Hasbro to end partnership with Toei. What this means for Power Rangers on TV exclusive. So it says the Illuminati has recently gotten word that Hasbro will reportedly not be continuing their partnership with Toei, including the use of footage for Super Sentai for Power Rangers television series. This means that according to our sources, Super Sentai will no longer be a factor in production for Power Rangers. Our sources are also telling us that this could mean 2021's Power Rangers Dino Fury will be the last season of the long-running franchise after their contract with Nickelodeon expires. It's also important to note that production for Power Rangers franchise has moved from Allspark to another Hasbro subsidiary, E1. The transition can mean multiple things for Power Rangers. E1 is known for the popular children's animated series Peppa Pig, so it's possible that an animated adaptation could be in the works. That was not explicitly confirmed by our sources, however. Now, just to touch up on this real quick, if you guys remember back when Disney actually owned Power Rangers, there was a point in time where Disney was very strongly considering moving away from the live action format, and they had even mocked up together kind of this, this kind of like test for a pilot, for a animated pilot of Power Rangers. So this is, of course, something that has been thrown around before. Hasbro would not be the first to think of doing this, right? This was something that Disney had plans to do before, but they decided to just go ahead and keep Power Rangers the way it was, with it being a live action show, and adapting it the same way that it had been for years prior to that. But let's go ahead and continue here. Where does Hasbro go from here? There are plenty of places Hasbro can go after this. Some of these are going to be personal speculation, while others we know Hasbro will have a focus on going forward. I will make it very clear what is speculation and what has been confirmed by our sources. And I'm glad they're doing this so that there's no misinformation out there, that anybody just comes to a conclusion that is completely false. So let's go on. My personal opinion, I think it would be beneficial for Hasbro to move on to an animated series going forward. Fans for years have expressed interest in a Power Rangers animated series, and if Boom Comics have proved anything, it's that these characters can have amazing storylines when they aren't being restricted by existing footage. They could also adapt certain storylines from the comics, such as Shattered Grid, to bring fans in. It is also possible, not confirmed, that Hasbro could put a heavier focus on the Boom Comics once Power Rangers Dino Fury has concluded. However, similarly to the Nickelodeon deal, the Power Rangers deal at Boom Studios will also be running out in 2021, so it's possible that Hasbro could choose to not continue the deal. Considering the success of the comics, however, I have a hard time believing that Hasbro would want to stop their partnership with Boom Studios. And that, I think, is a good point to bring up. Obviously, the comic books have been pretty, I would say, they've been pretty successful for the most part. And a lot of people, there's a consensus out there for a lot of people that feel that the comic books might be, well, until, I guess, Beast Morphers, the comic books were probably considered kind of by default the best thing Power Rangers had going at the time, because the 2017 movie got some mixed results from people. Not everybody was on board with it. Some of the previous Nickelodeon seasons were pretty lackluster for the most part. So this, I think, is the first time, like this season, Power Rangers Beast Morphers has been the first time that I've seen that generally has been favored by most fans, by kids and adults alike. It seems to be a series that I think, I would say, for the most part, I haven't seen the ratings for it yet, but I would say has probably been successful in the sense of its reception. So, for them to go ahead and draw upon from stories from the comic books and turning that into an animated series, I could see that as a good thing. And obviously, it does give them a little bit more options. But, man, I just, it's hard for me to see Power Rangers as something outside of a live-action series. But let's continue on here. Now, another thing that our sources have confirmed is that Hasbro is committed to their upcoming Power Rangers movie that is in development over at Paramount. We will have more information about the new movie within the next couple of days, so be sure to stay tuned for that. What are you guys' thoughts on the shocking news? How do you think Hasbro should continue Power Rangers going forward? With the state of the world right now, things are always in flux, so we will keep you posted on new developments. Be sure to stay up to date with the Illuminati for more developments on the story of all things Power Rangers. So I have some kind of... See, I don't think that they should end the relationship with Toei, but then again, I could see... I could see some of the benefits, right? I mean, they're still going to have some kind of license... They'll still have to have some kind of licensing agreement with Toei because of the fact that they're using characters that were originally designed and conceived by Toei if they decide to do an animated series with Power Rangers, right, where they reference the Boom Studio comics and stuff like that. But that would also kind of open the door for them to really make their own original Power Rangers and Power Rangers designs where they wouldn't have to pay Toei necessarily anything. I mean, there still might be something in place because, again, it was originally, Power Rangers is something that was an IP that was originally, based off of an IP that originally existed in Japan first. So there might still be some legalities there, but there might be far less. Of course, they wouldn't have to worry about getting the stock footage from Toei. These are probably some of the pros for them, right, in terms of cost. The fact that they would no longer have to film with live action actors and things like that, and create their own sets for these Power Ranger shows would obviously be beneficial for them on a by a money saving standpoint. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I just think that I don't think they should. I mean, there's such a long-standing relationship there. I mean, we already saw the relationship between Bandai and in terms of the toys, and I'm not saying that the toys have gotten worse since then. I think Hasbro has done a great job with the toys, but it just feels like completely moving away from this stuff. I mean, you got such great designs already that you're getting with it being adapted from Super Sentai, but I could also understand wanting to do your own thing with it, right, and really kind of personalizing it more, putting more of that I don't know, maybe I guess American touch on it, if for lack of a better way to put it. But I don't know. I don't know that I'm feeling this. I don't think that this is the right way to go. But it seems that if they are going to separate from Toei, the way to go would be, I guess, making an animated series. But part of the charm of Power Rangers is the fact that it is live action. That's always been its biggest appeal to me personally, was the fact that when I first saw Mighty Morphin back in the day, was that it reminded me of a live-action Voltron, and that's why I really dug it. So to not see it in that kind of format anymore would be bothersome. And it's not to say that that's what's going to happen, because we could end up getting a completely original live-action Power Rangers series, right? Where it's not based on any Japanese series. It's completely, which that would be cool too. I just think that for the efforts of continuously trying to keep or trying to move towards really making tokusatsu something mainstream, it would be best to keep Power Rangers, in my opinion, it would be best to keep Power Rangers live action and hopefully keep the deal going with Toei. But that's just my thoughts on it. It's just hard for me to not see it tied with that. But who knows? Maybe if they were to create their own original series, live action series, right, with their own original stories, which, again, this would all be much more costly for them than probably doing it as an animated series, having to pay for special effects and all that stuff, again, having to pay for live action actors. Of course, the stuntmen, things like that. There's a lot of a bigger crew that's going to be working on a live action series as opposed to probably an animated one. So again, it comes down to cost and what they want to do. And he brings up a fair point here in this article where he talks about that it would be easier to adapt these Boom Studios storylines, incorporate them into an animated series. It probably would be a lot easier to do that than a live action series, because a live action series, obviously, doing something like a Shattered Grid story arc would probably cost a lot. There would be a lot of budgetary cost in terms of special effects and stunts and all that good stuff, and action sequences, explosions, all that. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I feel about this, honestly. To me, it feels like the end of an era. I don't think that they should. Me personally, I think that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Personally, that's how I feel about it. But at the same time, I have to admit that, yes, of course, there is places that you can go if you decide to go down this route of separating from Toei. So there's definitely a couple different options on the table here, right? One of them being that they could potentially also do a live action series that's completely original, which that'd be amazing, right? We learned this back with Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog. That was a completely original series. It was a great series, I think, for its time, something completely different. Of course, it never got to the point of Power Rangers in terms of popularity, but it has its own following there, and there's people that remember it fondly. I'm one of those people. I liked it. It was just too bad that it was only 2 seasons, but it was good. It was good. I thought it was a good series. It was a good effort at something original, and it would be awesome to see if Hasbro can do something like that themselves, but more than likely it would seem that animation would be the way to go. And I think that if you do Power Rangers in animation, you lose something at the end of the day. There's some charm that is lost there, because to me the novelty of it being live action and that campiness of it being live action is something that you'll lose when you decide to make it an anime series. So for me, I don't know. I really, this is something I'll probably have to mull over a little bit. I personally, I guess up to this point, I would feel that I wish that they could continue to do it live action, and I hope that they do, even if they're not using, if they're not adapting any footage and completely creating an original live action universe. But chances are that's probably not going to be the way they go, because again, due to budgetary reasons. But if they did, that'd be great. I'd be all for it. But dang, this is think about that. Power Rangers as we know it is going to change, possibly forever. Again, this is just an initial report. We don't know what Hasbro has to say about this. Hasbro hasn't come forward and talked about it themselves publicly, but like I said, Illuminati has been pretty good about breaking news in the past, and I would consider them to be credible. A lot of times when they've reported on stuff, it has ended up to be true, but we'll just have to wait for Hasbro themselves to come out and actually confirm this stuff. So I guess we'll see. I mean, what do you all think, though? Do you all like the idea of seeing Power Rangers as exclusively an anime series? Like I said, me personally, man, part of its biggest charm is the fact that it's live action, at least for me. And I would hate to see that go away. But, hey, look, all good things come to an end at some point, right? But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below whether you're for it, whether you're against it, what your thoughts are on it. And until next time, y'all know how it goes. The hunt continues. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a like, share, and comment below.